All right, welcome. Need this box to go away because I can't see. There it is. Okay. Always some kind of a technical difficulty when I try to do a Zoom call. But Happy New Year. It's been a month since we have had a nutrition talk, but we have been really consistent with these talks for the whole last year. That was one of my goals from one of my mentors in, I guess, one of my last calls in 2023, sometime in that fall season, was to get better at being consistent with doing these. So I enjoy them. Sometimes we have a lot of people on here, depending on the topic, I guess, and sometimes we have just a few. And then there's always people that register, that can't watch it live. And then I do always post it on our blog a couple days or a week or two after we finish. Just depends on how quickly I get it up there. But my name is Jennifer. I'm a nutrition coach at Bandit CrossFit. So I have a question, and you can either drop this in the chat since we have some people live today. If you're watching this back later, then I just want you to think about it. Are you one of the people that makes resolutions or sets goals every New Year's? So that's the question. It is common for people to make New Year's resolutions or goals. I think I've switched over in the last couple of years, to goals rather than resolutions, just some things that I want to do by the end of the year. But unfortunately, according to some statistics out there, 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. And, we're today's the 16th, 16 days into January. So probably most people that set resolutions have already failed in some form or fashion. But here at Bandit CrossFit, we like to set goals that are achievable. So I like to think that y'all are setting things that you're more than likely able to do. Start small and build from there. So in our talk today, we're going to kind of talk about how to make some conscious choices, identify patterns, and build a healthier relationship with nutrition as you move forward in your progress, and try to avoid some pitfalls that we typically have in our New Year's resolutions. So we are partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition. That is a gym in Florida, and they have been around for a while. We've been associated with them since 2018. But we align with their beliefs that something as fundamental as nutrition really should not be as complicated as we typically make it. And so we focus on simple, habit-based approach. And we look at a holistic approach where we address all of these things that we see here in this wheel. Yes, food is part of it, nutrition. However, stress, sleep, our exercise, our support system at home and at work, and our friends, and then just kind of your whole lifestyle as a whole. We try to work on habits in all of those areas to help us be successful, because becoming the healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat or going to the gym a couple hours a week. It's really about all of those hours outside of the gym and what we're doing with those on a regular basis. Healthy Steps Nutrition over all these years has helped 45,000 people through gyms across the United States and overseas to help people take control of their health. All you need is a goal. That's where we have to start with, is a goal. And then we have to be willing to take action, and we have to focus on having a growth mindset and thinking outside of our comfort zone. That's the hard part. So we're here to try to help y'all set your own success stories, right? Reports indicate that New Year's resolutions, about 45% of Americans make them. And some of the most popular resolutions, I'm sure, are some that you have set either for this year or before: to lose weight, to save more money, to exercise more, to improve diet, or to learn a new skill or a hobby. People explicitly make goals, or people who set goals are 10 times more likely to achieve them compared to people that don't set clear goals. Okay. And people who share their goals with somebody else are 65% more likely to achieve them. That's why accountability is key. If they have regular check-ins with a friend or a coach, their accountability, their success increases to like 95%. So that's super exciting. So if you set a goal this year, make sure you tell somebody and share it with somebody. and have them hold you accountable to that goal. Makes a big difference. So I've got some tips today in these goals that you have set or resolutions. And the first one is to make a conscious choice. Nourishment, movement, and mindset are super important. So when you make a conscious choice to nurture your body and mind, it's a powerful way to reclaim control over your well-being. We have to begin by choosing nourishing foods that fuel your body rather than just simply satisfying your hunger. So when you're looking at options, you're looking for whole foods that are nutrient rich, so that they'll support your energy, keep our minds clear, and then things that are going to help us have health in the long run, right? So we really want to start thinking about our food as fuel rather than, just getting through the meal quickly and moving on to the next. The plate method is a great framework for kind of getting you started and headed in the right direction. And if you don't know what the plate method is, you take your plate and you divide it in half. And then that one half you're going to fill up with your non-starchy vegetables. So thinking about like your greens, cauliflower counts as a green, green beans, broccoli, asparagus, all those kind of things. Fill up half of your plate with that. And then the other half of your plate, you're going to divide that in half. And so you've got 2/4. And in one of those fourths, you're going to put your lean protein. And then the other fourth of your plate, you're going to put your starchy carbs. Think things like rice, potatoes, pasta, if you're having bread or something like that. And then we want to start thinking about moving our bodies and being conscious of that in ways that makes us feel good and supports vitality, whether it's stretching in the morning, getting outside and walking in nature, or more intense workouts like we do here in the gym. Movement doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent and bring you joy. That's the biggest thing. We don't need it to be a chore. It's recommended that you strength train 2 to 3 times a week and then incorporate your extra movement for things that feel enjoyable and realistic for you to be able to keep doing it, right? Consistency is key. And all of that exercise helps to increase your metabolism and keeps your mind clear for mental health, which is something that we like to focus on too. And then you want to choose a mindset that empowers you. So replacing negative self-talk with affirmations. I know this is super uncomfortable and feels really weird when you first start doing it, but it is super, super helpful to choose some statements. And it's weird, but I would love for you to stand in front of your mirror and tell yourself these things, like just like we have here. I am the author of my story. I'm resilient. I am growing. I am enough. I am kind. Even if you just pick one or two, and after you brush your teeth in the morning, you tell them to yourself. And when you get in the habit of it, when you start to get discouraged throughout your day, you can kind of come back to those things, right? There's one, I can't remember if it's the Atomic Habits book or Soundtracks. One of the phrases that the author of that book repeats to himself is, everything is always working out for me. And that's always in the back of my head, that even when things go wrong or I mess up or I fail, like everything is always working out for me. It's going to be okay. God always has a plan. Let me see if I missed in my notes anything while I got off on a tangent. Oh, and gratitude too, keeping a notebook by your bed before you go to bed at night and just kind of writing down the things that you're thankful for during the day is super helpful. But we really just want to shift our focus from what's lacking in our lives. Like we tend to focus on the negative or what we don't have or whatever, and shifting that to the things that are abundant in our life. Positive mindset amplifies the effects of our nourishing foods and our physical movement. And we're really just creating that holistic approach to wellness when we put all of these things together, which all helps to set a foundation that aligns with your goals. All right. And so tip number 2 is trying to be aware and getting to know your patterns. Observe results, reset your routine as needed. and then setting realistic goals, because we can't just set one big goal for the year. I mean, we might, but we probably are going to have to break that down into monthly goals or weekly goals or daily goals. So understanding your habits and your behaviors is key to creating lasting changes. You've got to start observing the results of your current routine. What are some things in your routine that are not working or are preventing you from reaching your goals? Um, and then what is working? What are some habits that you already have that you can just build on to help you reach your goals? So paying attention to your patterns in regards to your energy, your mood, your productivity. Sometimes we get stuck in cycles that really aren't serving us well simply because we haven't paused to assess them. Like we don't even realize that something's going well or isn't going well. So taking some time to think about your day in full. How much time do you spend at home? How much time are you at work? Or just simply away from home? And what are you doing when you're at home? Are you spending quality time with family? Or are you sitting on your phone? Are you watching TV? Are you staying up late? All of those kinds of things. In regards to when we're thinking about our day at work, are we sitting behind a desk all day long? Is there a way that we can incorporate some movement, getting up every 30 minutes, getting up every hour or hour and a half or so, and just taking a quick 10-minute walk can make a big difference. Even getting outside, especially if you're stuck in an office, see the sunshine for a little bit. Um, and then reflecting on all of those things that you've just looked at and seeing which actions are serving you well and which actions you could improve upon or, try to give up. And once you have a clear picture of what's really happening in your day, it's time to reset your routine. Doesn't mean that you have to overhaul everything overnight, but just pick one or two things and make some intentional adjustments that kind of align with your goals. For example, if you're noticing that late night screen time is affecting your sleep, or maybe you don't even notice that late night screen time is affecting your sleep. If you're having trouble sleeping, are you on your screen late at night? Even if it's on a Kindle or something reading, maybe trying to decrease the time that you're on your screens at night and increase the time in between getting off of your phone and getting in bed, and see if that helps with your sleep. Those are just some ideas. We've got to set realistic goals that affect or reflect our observations and then reset your routine. So breaking all of these things down into manageable steps so that you don't feel overwhelmed. We can't just set this big, huge goal, right? We've got to set it something small, something super easy, and habit stacking on something that you're already doing. And when you're adding in a new routine is super helpful. And then we always want to, instead of aiming for perfection, we want to focus on consistent progress. We're much more likely to stay motivated and see success when our goals are specific, when they're measurable, and when they're achievable. So you want to create routines that support your growth and well-being by getting to know your patterns and intentionally resetting them. And then a good question to always ask yourself, is there any routines or patterns that you're wanting to change and changing them? Tip number 3, when we're talking about typically trying to lose weight in a year, is really trying to tune into your hunger cues. And we can do this through being mindful as we eat, avoiding that all or nothing mindset, and be just trying to set consistency, and then slowing down and actually savoring our food. So we want to start listening to our body's true hunger cues, is a powerful way to foster a super healthy relationship with food. Mindful eating helps us tune into our body's signals and distinguishing between, this is super important, physical hunger and emotional cravings. The next time you eat, I want you to take a minute and kind of assess your hunger level on a scale of 1 to 10. Are you actually hungry? Or are you bored? Are you stressed? Or maybe you're tired? Engaging your hunger and fullness, you're much better able to regulate your hunger, control your energy and your cravings. And actually, it helps to balance your blood sugar too, during busy days. So we want to avoid falling into an all or nothing mindset where you're either just simply, I got to stick to the plan, or you're completely abandoning it. This kind of thinking can lead to overeating or guilt after indulgences. That's something that we really try to avoid. And so instead, we're adopting a much more flexible approach where you're allowing yourself the freedom to enjoy food without judgment, and recognize that one meal or one snack does not define your overall health. We just have the treat, have the indulgence, and we move on to the next meal. It's okay to have a cookie, an alcoholic drink or some kind of fatty food. Eat it and move on to more nourishing foods that will help you feel your best. Just try to pick right back up with your next meal. That's what I always say. Um, then you want to slow down and savor each bite. When you eat mindfully and you tune into your hunger, you give yourself space to recognize and listen to your body when you've had enough, which helps prevent overeating. Pay attention to the flavors and textures and sensations of your food. Also, when you start eating whole foods, it's a lot easier to pay attention to the flavors, textures, and sensations of your foods. When we're eating the processed food, I mean, honestly, it really all kind of tastes the same, and it's not as enjoyable. It's not as colorful, right? Um, all of these things kind of help you to feel more satisfied, but also enhances your overall enjoyment and your connection to your food. Trying to break free. Yeah, I didn't put notes in here on this, but also something else that helps us slow down and savor and being mindful when we eat is not eating on the couch, like while we're watching TV. That's a bad habit that's hard to break. But sitting actually at a table for all of your meals and putting your phone to the side. And if you're eating with other people, your family or your coworkers during the day, it's just a nice time, free of distractions. And when we're so busy scarfing something down while we're watching TV, we don't tend to pay attention to when we're full, and we tend to overeat as well. So last tip, this is a bonus. Accountability is super important. Having an accountability buddy, so you don't have to do it alone. Making goals and changes and resetting is hard, but if you have regular check-ins with a friend or a coach, your accountability increases or your success increases because of accountability to 95%. That's super exciting. It's a big deal, especially when you're trying to create a new you and a new routine. A few more things. The new year is a great time to start with a fresh opportunity to create positive change. But the key to lasting transformation lies in focusing on progress, not perfection. So every little bit, that's why these accountability check-ins that we do at the gym are so important, because you can see, you just never know until you look at all the facts. And it's easy to get discouraged in the day-to-day. So it's good to have somebody looking in from the outside for you that can help you recognize some wins that you've had. So again, let's remember that we want to set clear, realistic goals that align with your values and your aspirations. Rather than making these big, huge, sweeping resolutions, break them down into small, actionable, achievable, and motivating steps. Adopt the mindset of growth and embrace self-compassion and view challenges as opportunities for learning, not setbacks. Remember that it's not about completely reinventing yourself overnight. It's about making choices every day that will help move you towards a healthier and happier version of who you already are. We're not trying to change you, right? Just trying to become a better version of ourselves. So focusing on small, sustainable changes and celebrating every single step to help you create a new you in the new year. I think that's all on that page. There's some frequently asked questions. Some of y'all, when you registered, answered some of these. How do you stay motivated throughout the year? You've got to keep your goals visible. We have a vision board brunch coming up here. I think both of y'all that are on this call in person, let's see if anybody else tried to come in. No, are both signed up for this. But the vision board brunch or any kind of a goal, keeping it in sight every day is very helpful. And as you've got all these things on your board, you can kind of check them off throughout the year of things that you've done. So it's good. Meeting with your accountability buddy every now and then, whether it's a friend and you have lunch together, once a month or once every 2 weeks or something like that is good too. Or even just as simple as writing your goal on your bathroom mirror is helpful too, or a sticky note in your car. The best way to reflect on a year past is if you're journaling, like we talked about earlier, having a gratitude journal by your bed, or even something that you write down during the day. It's great to look back on all of the things that you've accomplished, things that you're proud of. What did you learn? Reflecting on experiences. And if you keep up through that with those kinds of things throughout the year, it's really rewarding to look back on it at the end of a year. So that's something I encourage y'all to do too. And another thing those gratitude journals are good for is when you're going through a hard time, you can look back on all the blessings that you had throughout the year, and that's great. So our core principles, y'all probably already know this, but focusing on whole foods first, eating meat, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, some fruit, a little starch, and as little sugar as possible. That's the biggest thing when you're kind of overhauling your nutrition, is to really get rid of the packaged foods and the fake foods, the Franken foods, as we like to call them, and increasing just the real foods, shopping the perimeter of your grocery store. And then once you have kind of nailed that down and you're doing really well with only eating real food, then we want to kind of balance or work on balance of our macronutrients. And we simply do that by eating the plate method, like we talked about earlier. Or if you're like a logger in MyFitnessPal, eating about 40% carbohydrates every day, 30% fat, and 30% protein. And of course, those numbers kind of vary based on your goals and on individual preferences and such, but that's just kind of a general term. And if you're eating the plate method, you're pretty much eating at those percentages anyhow. And then thirdly, really, really limiting the amount of processed carbohydrates and sugar. We as Americans eat way too much sugar. And the American Heart Association recommends that as women, we not have more than 6 teaspoons a day. And for men, it's about 9. However, we consume about 150 pounds of sugar a year, which when you do the math on that winds up being 46 teaspoons per day. So 46 teaspoons is a lot more than the recommended 6 that we shouldn't be having more than. So anyhow, those are kind of 3 big things with your nutrition to kind of focus on. So thinking back today, what's your takeaway? What can you carry through and implement for yourself this year? Y'all can put it in the chat or write it in your notes. And that's about it. There's some more success story. There's some of our little favorite people over the last couple months that have done really good. Shout out to them. And then I think that is it. Let me stop the recording here. Hold tight. Come on.